get started with recording. So good afternoon. My name is Lisa Gettings, and I'm joined by my colleague, Tanya, and we are excited to present this internship panel discussion. Tanya and I are both internship coordinators. I work in Dahlonega. Tanya is on the Gainesville campus. So we are excited to have some of our previous students and interns with us so that they can share their experience, because we're all about encouraging students to do internships and get that experience. So I'm going to turn it over to Tanya now, and Tanya, you can go ahead and introduce our speakers that we have with us today.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. First, for those, I just want to explain what an internship is before I introduce the speakers. And it's a one semester experience highly related to your major. Internships connect you with your academic coursework to careers. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and introduce our panels so they can explain this a little bit more to us and tell you the benefits of an internship. We want to first begin with Reagan Smith. Reagan Smith, a senior history major and an art history major, currently works as an intern at the Smith Gall Art Center in Gainesville, Georgia, tasked to inventory their diverse art collection. A junior year transfer student, Reagan hoped to continue gaining museum skills and have art history opportunities. Thanks to amazing art department at UNG, Reagan not only found her internship, but she also was chosen to research the UNG's historic Choice Street Church with a research partner. She plans to present her findings at this year's annual research conference, ARC. In addition to her work and study, she holds an officer position in the Time Frame Art History Club and is a proud member of the Tag Textile Club. After graduation, she plans to attend UGA in pursuit of her master's in historic preservation. Her current career goal is to be a collection manager of historic property. Welcome, Megan. Okay, Aaliyah's not here. We're gonna go on to introduce Cody Dodge. Cody graduated from UNG in 2022 with a degree in finance. Throughout college, Cody worked full-time managing moving crews across Georgia. He successfully completed 2 internships, one as a finance intern with JT Stratford. These internships allowed Cody to build a vast number of relationships and identify a career field that matches his skills and motivation. Cody now works in a project management space with Winters Construction. Welcome, Cody. Skylar Cochran. Skylar Cochran is an experienced multimedia creator and marketing coordinator. During her internship with Development Authority of Lumpkin County, she created a variety of press releases, social media content, film packages, and newsletters for distribution. As a University of North Georgia alum, she is currently serving as a digital marketing content producer with Salem Web Network. Welcome, Skylar. Okay,
I'm so sorry, but Aaliyah has just joined us. So
Aaliyah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Leah,
hey, Aaliyah.
welcome.
Hi,
okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. We know you're all busy, so thank you for being here today. Okay, Aaliyah Tabor. Aaliyah Tabor is a recent graduate at the University of North Georgia, class of 23, with a Bachelor's of Science in Political Science and a minor in Mandarin Chinese. Aaliyah was recently appointed as Office Management Coordinator in the Office of Management and Administration at the White House. She has cultivated her career of public service through a strong foundation of diverse internships, which include roles with the U.S. House of Representatives, Atlanta Mayor's Office of International Immigration Affairs, Turn-Up, Activism, and a stint in the Executive Office of the President of the United States. Welcome, Aaliyah. Okay, with that said, we want to go ahead and start off with a set of questions. And since our first question to our panel will be, we want you all to answer this question. So the first question is, how did you find your internship?
So Skylar, we can just start with you.
Yeah, we'll start with Skylar. Yes.
Okay, so I found my internship rather quickly with Handshake. I think I applied like the summer before I started that internship at the Development Authority. And then my other internship, I actually did one at the same time, was with the National Society of Leadership and Success. And that was on their job board. So Handshake and then another job board similar to LinkedIn. That's how I found my internships.
Perfect. So good to hear that you use like some of the resources that we have here on campus. Cody, what about you? How did you find your internship?
Hey, so I can't get my camera to work for some reason, but I think y'all can see my face. So that should work. But so I was lucky enough for mine to kind of fall right into my lap. So it was the winter prior to my senior year. And I had met a recent UNG grad that was working at a wealth management firm, which was JT Stratford, which is where I ended up getting an internship. And we were just kind of casually talking on LinkedIn, and he mentioned that I should apply for it. And, you know, it was relatively new within their organization. They were just trying to start it back up. So I ended up applying, going through a couple of rounds of interviews, and then ultimately landing that one. And I think while I did use Handshake and I did use a couple other platforms, I think my story really speaks to the power of connections and building relationships, and how, you know, you can just be casually talking with somebody and, you know, bingo, there's your opportunity right there. And you didn't even know it. You weren't even really looking for it, but it just fell right into your lap. So while I do say use the resources that you have, also get out there and meet as many people as you possibly can. Even if you're an introvert, you know, just get over that initial uncomfortability of the situation and just meet as many people as you can, because you never know what opportunity it could become available. So that's kind of how I land on.
That's great, because they do say 80% of internships are found by the people, you know, and those networking, building relationships. So thank you, Cody, for bringing that out. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Reagan, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. So for my internship, luckily it also kind of fell in my lap. So I actually got an email from the art department at UNG, and it said calling you know, all art students, all art history students. There's an internship available in Gainesville, and then there's a link to Handshake. And so I immediately jumped on it and went right to Handshake, and it was super streamlined from there. So yeah, I checked my email, and that was one of the decisions I made.
Well, thank you for saying that you do check your email. As Lisa can testify to, that a lot of students do not check their email, even when we send them internships. So that's great. Thank you.
Okay, Aaliyah, how about you?
Kind of similar stories to everyone else, but instead of checking my emails, I was standing outside of my political science and research methods class, and I was just standing in line early for class, waiting for the last class to come out, and like the job posting, I think, is in Strickland on the big Quirk poster board. I kind of just cocked my head a little bit, and I was like, oh, the White House, oh, they're looking for interns. So honestly, just so happened to be at the right place at the right time to see that piece of paper popping up. But there was countless of internships and fellowships and volunteer and study abroad options that were on that board. I had been looking for internships for like a year at that point and had trouble getting one, but like that was one that caught my eye that was like, I probably don't have a shot, but you know, it doesn't hurt to try.
Oh, good point. I'm glad you bring that up, Aaliyah, that you do have a shot at these internships, so don't be shy to apply for them. Very good.
Yeah, and the other thing I think we learned just from that question is there's not just one way to find an internship. Like you need to use a variety of resources, and then also just a lot of different methods and strategies, because you never know where that opportunity is going to come from. So thank you all for that.
That's great.
So the next question I have is if you could tell us a little bit about kind of what that application and interview process was like. So Reagan, we'll start with you this time.
So the application was pretty easy. Like I had said, it was on Handshake. You like fill out a profile, which is really nice. I've actually continued to use it as well to try to find like jobs and like other openings for after I'm finished at UNG and after my internship. But you just fill it out according to what your needs are. So for me, since I'm like history and art history, it'll pop up things that are similar to that. And then there was like a little like chat thing that I went through with my now supervisor, and that's how she scheduled times to meet me for an interview, and all that.
Perfect. Okay, Aaliyah, what about you?
So my process, I went through, I think, 3 rounds of internships, or not internships, excuse me, 3 rounds of interviews. So like first initial and then suitability and kind of like a final one similar to my position now. But the application process, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of lagged on it because if you fill out the White House internship application, it's like 4 essay questions, a large essay, 3 or 2 letters of recommendation. So it's a little bit of a lengthy process. The applications are open, I believe now, if not next Monday. So if you want to take a peek at that. So it took me a little bit to reach out to my professors. Luckily, I was still in my political science classes, so I just asked my current professors for letters of recommendations. But those, I will say the essays are what I took a while on because it kind of caps you at a certain word count. So like not SAT, like certain scholarship letters, you're writing like a whole essay, like papers, they kind of cut you off at a certain point. So it makes you like be concise in a way, but also kind of tell them a little bit more about you, excuse me. But kind of a lengthy process. But once that part was turned in, it was pretty much my favorite game of hurrying up and waiting.
Great.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay.
What about you, Cody?
So mine was definitely not that complicated. She makes me look a little bad, but mine was pretty smooth, pretty uncomplicated. What they did was they actually partnered with the school to essentially, rent out a room, quote unquote, to hold their interviews in, and that was the first round. And so after that first round of interviews, well, before all of this, actually, there was an application process, and that process was pretty typical of what you'll see for pretty much any internship or job. They're asking you why you're interested. They're asking you for references, your personal information. So just typical things like that. But then going back to the interview process, they held the first round on campus, and then we went through a second round, and that was just at a completely different location, which I thought was pretty cool how they brought us into different locations, like over lunch, over dinner. I thought that was pretty interesting the way they did that. And then the third round was, the finalists, and that was actually held at their office. And I got to go in and tour the building, meet with different employees, meet with the CEO and talk with him for a while just on his vision and why he started the business and what he's trying to take it to. So I really enjoyed my process. I thought it went very smooth. I thought it was not as complicated as it needed to be. And overall, it was a very good experience for me.
Perfect. All right, so let's see, Skylar.
So my process after I applied on Handshake, I just had a regular like phone interview, and then my second interview was maybe a week later, and it was the final interview in person. And it was just very straightforward. I knew what I was getting into, I guess, and yeah, it was fast. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you all for sharing. So the thing I'm taking away from this is I think start early, because some of these application processes sounds like it's going to take quite a while. And it sounds like it's pretty typical for there to be multiple rounds of interviews. So be prepared to even go out for a dinner interview like Cody was mentioning, and then go to, a site interview where you're able to take a tour of the facility. So lots of different settings that you may be interviewing in. Thank you all so much. Tanya, do you have a question for the panel?
Yes, okay. So my next question for the panelists is what did you gain from your internship experience? What was most beneficial about the experience? And I want to start with Skylar this time.
So at my internship with the Development Authority, I learned how to fly a drone, which I had never done before.
Oh.
And so that is like the biggest, I guess,
Interesting.
most interesting thing I got out of that internship. But there were also a bunch of good skill sets that I developed for marketing, especially, which is what I'm doing now, especially on the video side. So I feel like just having that hands-on experience to kind of learn on my own, as well as with my internship coordinator, was really valuable for me, especially because I was still kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with communications, because that degree, it is broad. There's so many things you can do. So I was trying to figure out what my best skill set would be post-internship and learning, and how to use that as my, I guess, launching pad into my career. And as far as the internship itself, I'd say just having that good communication, and my coordinator was great. If I ever had a question or wanted to try something, she would let me go for it. So I think those were two of the biggest beneficial aspects of my experience.
Okay, very good. Flying a drone, that was been really fun. Thank
And
you.
scary.
Okay, thank you, Skylar. Okay, Cody, how about you? What did you gain from your internship experience?
So I gained a lot of hard skills and soft skills. Even though I didn't end up pursuing a career in what I interned in. So I interned with a wealth management firm. So I was able to learn a lot about, stock analysis, stock, models, modeling, the discounted cash flow model, things like that. And those are things I still actually get to use now just because I'm still interested in that stuff. So I was actually able to take a lot of the things they were doing and almost recreate it to a point and be able to use it for my personal use and be able to use it for my own analysis, which I still do now. But as far as soft skills go, which would apply to anybody on this call, I would say, you know, I just gained a lot of relationships from it. And that's actually what I said with the first question too, because I'll die on that hill. You just gain relationships wherever you can get them, because I can tell you firsthand, even though I didn't end up pursuing a career in that, I still keep in contact with all of the people that I worked with, and they've brought, I think, like one or two jobs by now to me in the area that aren't even finance related, but they knew me and they worked with me and they're well connected. So they brought opportunities to me. So I would say, even if you're unsure of what you want to do, even if you're unsure of what direction you want to go in, you can still build relationships no matter what you do or where you go. So I would say that was one of the biggest things that I gained, that and how to communicate effectively, because no matter what you end up in, that's crucial. And if you can't communicate, you're not going to get very far. So I would say relationships and the ability to communicate were the two biggest soft skills that I was able to gain through my internship specifically.
Yeah, very good, Cody. Building relationships is so important. And we tell students that all the time. So thank you for expounding on that. Then we want to go to Aaliyah. So how about, what did you gain from your internship experience, Aaliyah?
Well, while I was thinking about this question, I was thinking about, well, what did I gain from my most recent experiences or internships?
Mhm.
I would have to say, similar to what Cody just touched on, just being those connections, honestly.
Mhm.
And personally, what I learned is how being well-rounded is like really essential of like making you you, but also doing your job or internship really well. Because before I got my internships, I was working at Einstein's as a shift lead. And like before that, I was working at a McDonald's. And I tell everyone here all the time that those positions as like a shift lead in McDonald's and or shift lead at Einstein's and working at McDonald's, that's project management, that's managing different personalities, that's
Very good.
diplomacy, like you name it. So I would have to say like equipping my background, that's something I learned that when I got to my internship positions, I felt very overwhelmed and kind of like that imposter syndrome that, oh, I'm not
Mhm.
from here, I don't have these connections, I don't have those connections,
Mhm.
but finding out like what I'm rooted in of what my background came from. So really learning the strength of using of what you had. That's something I learned to use in my experience. I used to work at the outlets in Dawsonville. And so when I came into my position as an intern last year, and then transferred over to full time, was I was with the interior design and facilities management division. I was like, I'm a political science major. What am I doing in facilities management? But then my last position at Coach, where looking at different leathers and bags and swatches and everything, and you would never think those past experiences would come back to like help you as well as it did. So in terms of soft skills, that's what I learned about, took from my internships, but more so on the side of like hard skills and things that I'm actively still doing in my position full time. And what I did as an intern is definitely project management and operations.
Mhm.
I didn't see myself going into this aspect if you asked me 4 years ago when I applied to UNG. So just being able to use those skills as an intern, I would say, is something I learned that I didn't know I was really good at until I kind of got given a position to grow into it.
Yeah, that's very good. That's a very good point, because all your skills are transferable, and transferable skills can really add up in the end, just take you on up the staircase. So they're definitely needful. Very good, Aaliyah. Thanks for talking about how those transferable skills can help you. Okay, we want to go on to Reagan. Reagan, what did you gain from your internship experience?
I have definitely gained a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I work at a nonprofit, and so just nonprofit in general, you get a lot of $0 budgets. So you really get to learn a lot about problem solving. I mean, when I came in, I was greeted with a very, very disorganized art collection, and I was tasked being the only person that kind of knew how to do it. So I now am great friends with Excel, workbooks. Never did I think I would inventory like 500 pieces of art on Excel. But now I'm very comfortable with using the program, and having it serve whatever needs it needs to have. You can use it for so much more than just a schedule or just, a list of values that are monetary. Um, and I also really learned communication, because you have a lot of different ideas and you have people that are prioritizing different things. And, oftentimes what the intern is doing is not the priority. So you have to manage, talking about like, hey, I'm doing this, so it benefits you in this point in time. Uh, and also making sure that everybody's on the same page with what work is being done. But the biggest thing has definitely been problem solving. I'm really proud of myself in being able to overcome a lot of obstacles I was given.
Reagan, that is so good because problem solving is one of those soft skills. And you mentioned something about technology, and that's good too. So all that you learned at an internship that really help you overcome those obstacles. Very good. Okay, so my next question is to all the panelists. What advice would you give Eugene students who are considering doing an internship? Okay, so we'll start with Cody this time.
So my advice, big picture, would be I wish I would have done more internships, not like 5 to 10 or anything, but just maybe 3 or 4. I think if you do as many internships as you can reasonably, I think you get to gain a lot of different experiences. And especially if you're unsure exactly what you want to do, I think those experiences build up and can eventually lead you to what you want to do. So I would just say, do your research and then just do it. I don't think you should go through your college career without doing one unless you're just, I don't know, coming up in a family business and you know what you're going to do already. But I would say just do it, but don't just do it to check the box because it's, something you're supposed to do. Have a plan to go in. Right. Yes. But, I meet these people who, want to push my career forward. You want to gain a skill. You want to find your dream company. So go in with direction, go in with a plan. Don't just go in to check a box. And I would just say do as many as you can reasonably and go in and try and do it to the best of your ability.
That's very
Great
good.
advice.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was just going to say great advice, Cody. And the more you do, the more connections you're making, right? So you're
Very
building
good,
those
yeah.
relationships.
For
Aaliyah,
sure.
what about you? Oh, so we'll
I'm
turn
sorry,
it
did you say me?
Yep, I said you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just hear like noise going on the outside. I was like, is she talking to me? I'm sorry. I'm listening. I'm here.
No
I swear.
problem.
Some advice I would give to current UNG students. I guess I would kind of touch on those who are struggling to find an internship. I have been there. I spent my entire junior year and half of my senior year like applying, reaching out to career services, reaching out to like my connections, my family's connections to try and find something that sticks the landing. So I would say just keep applying, keep going for it, try every avenue that you can. So if you see a hiring manager or you see a job that or internship that interests you, contact the hiring manager, maybe contact 2 or 3 people on LinkedIn, like an email address, something. If anything, it kind of gets your name and your image in their head. So they're like, oh, okay, so-and-so's reached out about that before. So continuing to follow up, I would say would be really helpful for those who were not able to stick something yet, because I know in one of my first internships was a virtual internship. So they had closed the portal and I wasn't able to get in, but like continuously following up and just kind of sending over my resume and my portfolio. And I didn't really have a portfolio since it was my first like interview at the time. So I was like, please, 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 please have me, and kind of use what I had in my background to kind of support me in that aspect. So I would say those who don't have internships or are struggling to find one, don't give up. It took me a hot minute, like a good year to land one. So just keep applying, use LinkedIn, Handshake, your actual personal connections, word of mouth, any avenue that you can to try and get your name out there. To those who've probably had an internship before or about to start an internship, make those connections. And I think Cody mentioned this not too long ago, but like use those connections to help you find your next job or your next internship. Because once you get your foot in the door, you're pretty much there at that aspect, and it's easier to hop around than to be on the outside. That once I got my virtual internship, I was able to use what I did in that to get me to the White House. And then once I got to the White House, I was able to use that to get me into House of Representatives in the city of Atlanta. So just keep using those connections that just keep talking to people. what do they call it? Coffee chats. So really nice to get to know people in their positions and what they're doing. A quick phone call or a virtual Zoom call helps too. But just get your name out there, get your image out there. People will remember you. If you're not doing in your certain position what you would love to do, then just explain what you're interested in, and hopefully they'll get back to you. Oh, I know you're interested in this. Why don't you try this out or try that out? But like, tap into those connections. I know it's annoying to hear connections, but honestly, it's the only reason I'm here where I am, is that I just kept tapping into my connections from my in my virtual internship and just kept making my way on out. So yeah.
Aaliyah, that was just perfect. Use your connections and don't give up. Those were two words that stood out to me. And you don't want to give up, and you want to keep building those relationships. Very good. Okay, so Skylar, you want to answer that question. What advice would you give UGN students who are considering doing an internship?
Once you've done all of the great advice that Cody and Aaliyah said, in addition to all of that, I'd say during the internship, ask as many questions, learn as much as you can.
Oh, good.
And in addition to that, use your professors. Like after your internship's over, after you've graduated, I had one of my professors reach out to me for another internship after graduating, and I was like, oh man, I wish I wasn't already in this full-time job. I could have done this. There's other opportunities that'll come up. So just keep those connections and learn as much as you can, and really challenge yourself. Like each day, find something like, oh, this is what I want to focus on today for this amount of hours of my internship, or, oh, I have this free time. Oh, I wonder what I could ask or what I could build off of for this, what I need to do better while you're in the program. So, and that helped me ultimately land my job that I have now. So, yeah, I think that's my advice.
That's very good, Skylar. Intentional curiosity works very well. So I like that. Okay, so Reagan, that leaves you. What advice would you give UGN students who are considering doing an internship?
I think one thing when you're looking for internships, a lot of times it can get a bit disheartening because internships are actually looking for you to kind of have an idea of what will happen there, and maybe have a few skills that you're already bringing in. I know that for my internship, I was chosen because of my previous knowledge and my previous experience. And so it is a bit disheartening. It's like, how am I supposed to get an internship if I'm supposed to have an internship before an internship, And the one thing I would suggest, especially for anyone that's looking in the industry I'm looking in, which is museums, library, archives, art in general, is looking for other areas to gain skills that might be just like a weekend volunteer opportunity. Maybe at a library or a museum that's down the road from your house over the summer. Or also there's certificate programs. I know that there's probably something like to get an Excel certificate, and different certificates for different types of programming that you can do during school hours. There's also like clubs. I know that I'm in the art history club, and we do gallery setups, and we plan events, and we have talks where we learn about different, preparation and curation and all of those things. And so you can add that to a resume, and you can talk about that in the interview in order to bolster, the employer wanting you to be their intern.
That's good.
So I would recommend just learning as much as you can in school so you can get that internship.
Yeah, thank you, Reagan. Yes, I think it's so important to get involved in a lot of different areas, right? Because you can pull all of that information together to build your resume and to talk about during an interview. So your experience does not all have to come just from what we typically think is like just a paid job experience, that you can pull from volunteering and you can pull from clubs and organizations. And so you can package yourself that way, because in all of those activities that you're doing, you're building skills, you're building experience. So thank you all so much. That was great information. I love hearing the stuff that we talk about to students when we meet with them. I love hearing you guys say how important that was and how that those steps have helped you on your career journey. So now we want to turn it over to our attendees for any questions that they may have. So feel free just to unmute yourself and ask these panelists any questions that you may have about internships or about, you know, where they're at now on their career paths. And so we're going to open it up to you guys.
Oh, yes, feel free to unmute. Okay, Devin. Okay, we have someone. Great.
How long did your internship last, or if you had multiple, how long did they last? And then how many hours a week did you typically put towards your internship when you were doing it?
Okay, let's see. Skylar, do you want to start?
Sure. So I had 2 internships at once and a part-time job on top of that while taking classes. So I had to literally schedule out my whole week before starting the internships. So I spent about 12 hours on my National Society of Leadership and Success internship, which was all online. So I could literally hop on and work a couple hours in between classes. And then my Development Authority internship, I want to say it was about the same amount of hours a week, because I would do weekend stuff with them as well. Yeah.
Okay. Cody, would you like to, thank you, Skylar, for answering that question. Cody, would you like to have something to say about the question as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So mine was a summer internship. So it lasted 3 months, give or take a few days. And it was a full-time internship. So I'd work on weekends. I would do like landscaping and work for the moving company that I'd worked for throughout college. But then this was just a Monday through Friday internship. We didn't really have any weekend events, but it would be anywhere from 40 to 50 hours. Like, they didn't really hold you to anything. I would typically get there a little bit early in the morning, because that's when our research analyst would come in, and I would just kind of sit there and pick his brain a little bit. But it's really a lot of times when you get an internship, it's a little flexible. You know, they just give you a range of hours you can work, and then it's kind of your choice. You're free to do what you want with it. But you know, if you do a full-time internship like mine was, you can expect about 40 hours a week, just like a typical 9-to-5 job would be.
Hey, thank you, Cody, for that. Okay.
Leah, what about you?
Okay.
What was your schedule like when you were interning?
Aaliyah?
Aaliyah?
Oh,
Yeah.
what's that, Aaliyah?
Okay, making sure. I'm sorry. Honestly, what Cody said, it was full time. I was doing the full 40, sometimes over. It was a mixture of full time, so Monday through Friday, and then the occasional weekends. And then I was still, when I interned, I was still enrolled at UNG. So I was doing an intern course there to get credit for it to graduate. So that was that turned it into like 50 hours a week, because I had to do, those of you who are actually enrolled in it, if you're in certain amount of hours, it counts as 9 credit hours. So I was doing 9 credit hours worth of work on top of my full-time pretty much job or full-time internship at that time. So roughly a week of intern related stuff, it was like 40 to 50 hours.
That's
a
a
big
lot.
time obligation.
Yes, you know, I love the hard work and high achievers that we have here on this panel. This is great to hear that. Okay. Oh, Reagan, would you like to answer this question as well? I don't want to leave you out.
I can also answer it pretty quickly. I actually still work at my internship. I'm kind of in a
Okay.
weird situation where I
Mhm.
started as a summer intern and now I'm here to the next summer, basically. So I started in June and I'll be ending in May. But so my hours fluctuated. I have the luxury of being able to make my own hours. So over the summer, I was working basically not quite a full-time job. It was only 30-hour work weeks since it was a nonprofit. And now I pretty much work around a max of 16 hours a week currently. So like this week, I only worked like 14. So yeah.
Thank you, Reagan. Yeah, there's a variation of work is related experience here for the internships. Very good. Do we have any more questions from our students? No? Okay. Now don't be shy. Go ahead and ask some questions if you have some, but if not, we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question that we have here is, wait, okay. The next question that we have here is, I'm gonna start with, let's see, Skylar. I'm gonna start with you, Skylar. This is gonna be a question for the whole panel. Is there anything you wish you would have known before you started your internship?
I think I wish I had kind of known more about opportunities like for the Development Authority. Wish that I had kind of known like, okay, what is their job outlook? Because I tried after I finished the internship and everything, I actually looked and see if they had any openings there. But I guess during my internship, I should have asked like, hey, could this possibly be a full-time opportunity? What other elements are missing from the Development Authority as far as like job openings? Because there was just no information about it at the time. So I feel like speaking up and actually asking, I think that's one thing I wish I had kind of thought of going into it. But my internship actually got extended for that time. It ended up being, I think, 8 months. 8 months. So yeah.
It's
But
good.
I got a job anyway, so.
Yes, congratulations on that, Skylar. Okay, I want to ask the same question to Reagan. Was there anything you wish you would have known before starting your internship?
I do wish I knew a bit more about how nonprofits worked. That was definitely something that I learned during my internship, especially realizing how, the majority of the money comes from donors. You have to get a lot of approval from donors. And there's just a lot of nuance with that. But I don't know. I mean, I also wish, kind of funny, I wish I knew what Google Lens was. It has been so amazing to find artwork that I didn't know who created it. Oh my goodness. Take a picture, put it in Google Lens, and you can maybe find the thing that you're looking for. A research tool I never knew would be very, very good. So I wish I knew it sooner. But that's
Okay.
it.
Oh, very good. That's very interesting. Okay, Cody, I want to ask you the same question. Was there anything you wish you would have known before you started your internship?
Yeah, I think Aaliyah may have hit on this earlier about the whole concept of asking as many questions as you can. I would have known that, or wish I would have known a little bit more that you're there to ask questions and you're there to learn. Like that's the whole reason they're bringing you in, is because they want you to learn, ask questions, and hopefully, come on with them for a full-time position later down the road. So I wish I would have been able to put my ego to the side a little bit and not just sat there and thought if I asked questions, they would think I was a phony or that I wasn't really as smart as my resume made me look. Because I think there were times where I wish I would have asked questions instead of just acting like I knew something and then going back and trying to figure it out after the fact. So I would say, I wish I would have just known that the whole concept of asking questions is actually encouraged versus it being, some kind of weakness.
Okay, that's very good, Cody. Very good. Okay, so I want to ask one more question. Do we have any questions coming from the audience before I ask the next question?
We don't have anything in the chat, but feel free just to unmute if you have a question, because we really want this to be your session. So I mean, we have questions that we've come up with that we want to hear, but please, if you have questions, we want to make sure we get those in.
Yeah. Okay, well, I go and ask the same question to Aaliyah. I want to say to the audience, take this opportunity to ask questions. Anything, don't be shy. No question is a dumb question. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, Aaliyah, I want to ask you, what do you think you wish you would have known before you started your internship?
I wish I knew, I learned towards the end, but I wish I knew, or if someone had told me that it's okay, or keep track of everything that you do, not in a sense of timekeeping, but like when you want to update your resume after this, or like want to look for another internship or full-time job, you're in it, you're doing the work, you're having a good time, but then you get out of it and you're towards the end of your internship and you're like, wow, wait, what did I do every day? What did I do every day? So like, even if how mundane and small you might think it is now, keeping track of it now is so helpful for doing that transition into a full-time job, because you can say, I interned here. What did you do there? Took notes for so-and-so, kept track of the minutes for this, I coordinated that. And to add on to that, keep track of your projects, anything you're a part of that you had hands-on doing, you're a part of that project. I would keep notes of everything that you do, how tedious, like towards the end of every day, just write a small email to yourself or a small notes list to yourself and say, today I did this and this and this, and I did that and that and that. So when it's time to sit down and do the nice refresh on your resume, you actually know what to work with. And especially with interviews, when they ask you, what did you do in your last position? Or, the STAR method of tell me a time when you did this and this and that. And you actually have full accounts of, oh, this is when I had to deconflict this. This is the time I worked on a project with this. I was with the team with that. Didn't realize how important that was in the beginning, but since I was in I was enrolled in an intern class credit at UNG, I was kind of forced to do it per se. I had to do it to get credit for class of daily journals. So when I was doing those daily journals, I was like, wait, this is so helpful. So when I was looking for other internships and full-time jobs, I kind of had that to pull to from, oh, I know exactly what date and time, or I know what deliverables I provided, or like who I worked with, or how many, the numbers involved, how many items I produced, and did this for this office, did that for that office. But yeah, kind of a niche thing, but like write down everything that you do, projects included, because you never know.
That's very
Good
good.
advice.
I just love that what Aaliyah said. Having that master copy resume is so important. And we do, Lisa, this is great, because what we are teaching, we see that the students are actually needing for interns and to get jobs. So, come and visit the Career Center. We're here to help you, answer your questions, and give you a little head start on finding internships. Okay. We want to go on to the next question. There's no questions in our audience.
Yeah, just want to open it up again for the students. See if anyone has any questions, and we're getting close on time, so let's make sure if you have a question, let's get it in.
Yeah, it is 4:51, so I'm just going to be asking one more question, so you only have another chance to participate. Okay, my last question to you today is, how did you manage your coursework, internship, and other responsibilities? And I know that some of you hit on it just slightly, but I really want you to speak to that because some students have kids or they're in the military, they're working full time. And so I just want you to speak to that. And I want to start with Reagan.
Like Aaliyah, I did it like as a
Mm.
class, and that was really helpful.
Mhm.
As it like when I was doing it during the semester, as well
Mhm.
as, oh my goodness, all of my other credit hours that I was doing, it was very helpful to keep organized,
Oh, good.
as it was just like doing another assignment as well.
Mhm.
And I also, since I was able to have flexible hours, I made sure to do exactly what I knew I could do. But that
Mhm.
would also just be a discussion that you have with your supervisor, especially if you're working on a certain amount of hours you have to hit. So it's like
Mhm.
120 for a lot of internship classes. That's just a discussion that you can continue to have. But I mean, it would just be a practice in time management mainly. It can be done. I know that the people that I worked with, they would have long hours. They'd be there at 7 in the morning and they'd leave at 6, and they managed their time in the way that they did. And so if
Mhm.
they could do it, I, the little intern, could do it as well. So, it's just basically getting to the point that you can get your work done.
Okay, very good. Time management is so important. I want to ask the same question to Skylar. Skylar, how did you manage your coursework, internships, and other responsibilities?
For me, I'm a very like visual person. So
Mhm.
I just took my planner for the week and I would just do time blocks of just dedicated to every single thing I have to
Mhm.
do for the week and literally plan out the whole week. Because I had a part-time job on top of 2 internships with the coursework.
Mhm.
I didn't have hardly any free time for that length of time, which was a lot. And so looking back, I think a part of this advice would be to just be honest with yourself. Like,
Mhm.
especially if it's your last semester or two of college, like it's a lot finding a job on top of that. So just be honest with yourself, be honest with your time, and do what you can.
Mhm.
Internships come up after college too. There are other opportunities.
Good point.
You're not racing by the time you graduate, in other words, but make use of all the time that you have. So
Okay, very good, Skylar. I want to ask the same question to Cody. Let me repeat the question. How do you manage your coursework, internships, and other responsibilities?
Yeah, so as cliche as it might sound, you just have to be intentional with all of your different activities that you have going on. So you can't just one thing an internship while you're in school and or if you're working a job at the same time, one thing that's going to do is it's going to force you to be organized because you can't
Mhm.
when you have that many things going on, you can't really just wing it. So the way I did it, and this is just me, I would just pretty much wake up. I would start at the beginning of the week and just kind of brain dump everything into into my notes or into a Microsoft OneNote document. And then from there, I would organize it into, work, internship, school, and then maybe a little bit of personal things going on the side too. And then
Mhm.
from there, after I brain dumped everything and organized it, I would just prioritize everything. And I think prioritization, it really allows you to knock out what you need to say win your day or win your week. And it allows you to really hone in on the important things and maybe some of the things that are just off to the side you may not really need to do right now. And all they're doing is sitting there on your list and making your list look bigger. And then you're just sitting there getting overwhelmed. So I think
Mhm.
prioritization is definitely the most important thing with managing, an internship and school and a job. So, I would have jobs to go look at and estimate for my moving company on the weekends. So I would have to plan that out. And then I would have to plan, okay, I need to get to my internship early on Friday so I can leave early and go do this job. So it's just, I think upfront planning is going to be your best bet when you're managing everything. And then use some kind of Microsoft OneNote, use Excel to organize your week. And then just, you can link a lot of things with your calendar too. So then you have things automatically feeding into your calendar. So I would just say, stay organized in that way and use technology as your friend.
Okay, very good. Using technology, having that vision, what you need to do. And Aaliyah, I want to ask you this question as well. How did you manage your coursework, internships, and other responsibilities?
Well, I guess to be honest, I kind of did that sometimes. I was
Oh, I love that
I
honesty.
was
That's
pulling
true.
honestly, I was kind of holding on barely by the seams. I was newly married, still in school, and then starting my internship all at one time. So it was and doing the 9-hour intern course. So it was extremely overwhelming and extremely stressful. I'm not gonna lie. But being intentional with the time that you do carve out with like friends and family and like even your job is so important, because it's so easy to get swept up in emotions and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna worry about this, I'm gonna worry about that. But actually, to like what my anxiety and balancing all that is whatever time you're working on in that moment, just focus on that. Don't worry about what you're gonna have to do for that meeting or this or that. Focus on doing your good work here. Focus time with your, in my option was with my husband. Focus spending time, which you have on him. Focus on time getting his coursework done. So just being intentional, being present in the moment of work, job, whatever. And then also kind of touch on what everyone said, technology. Calendar invites became my best friend. If it wasn't on my calendar, it wasn't happening in my head. It was going right over. So getting to use what technology works best for you. I know most of us are like on our phones, on our work phones, on our computer, you name it. So having some technology to remind you of something, whether that's Outlook or just reminders on your phone, or whatever works best for you, timed emails, sticky notes, you name it. Just find a system that works best for you for like managing your timetable, because when you do have as many things as we all had jobs, part-time jobs, coursework, managing at the same time, just finding a good system that works in place for you is how good say.
Okay, very good, Aaliyah. We're at 4:59, and I just want to say the word no is a beautiful word. No, I can't do it today. I'm sorry, I can't go out. No. Yeah, maybe next time. It's okay. So y'all learn to use that word no. So we are coming to the end. We want to thank our guests, our panelists. You did such an amazing job of answering these questions, insights, the visuals you gave, the strategies you gave, the tips were all just amazing. And I want you to continue to do well. We're so happy and proud of you. So I just want to say that you're just amazing, and thank you for coming today.
Yes, thank y'all. I know you all had to rearrange your schedules to make time for us.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Like Tanya said, we are very proud of you. And then to our students who are on the call, if you have more questions about internships, or you need help with your internship search or your resume or your cover letter, please make an appointment with Career Services. That's what we're here for. We are happy to help. So thank you, Skylar, Reagan, Aaliyah, and Cody. We really appreciate you being with us today.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and Aaliyah has given her email in the chat. So thank you, Aaliyah, for giving us that, and her LinkedIn. So if you have more questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay. Well, if there's no more questions from our audience, we're gonna end the presentation at this point. Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome.